So this is what we're going to do. I have a main topic for you, and then I have two side topics to throw your way as well. So the main portion of today's show is going to be centered around this Dallas Goedert news. And Jeff McClain had this a few days ago that an anonymous NFL agent believes the Eagles will not keep Dallas Goedert. And you look at the contract, you look at the no guaranteed money. He's 30 years old. It absolutely is interesting to look at the future at tight end because the last time we were in this predicament, they already had Goddard sitting and waiting to take over for Zach Ertz. That's not the case this time around, unless you think Grant is ready to rock, unless you think Grant can step in and he's the next one to be a force at the tight end position. But my question for Eagles fans out there, again at 215-592-9494, how does this make you feel? If we are living in a world where the Dallas Goedert relationship with the Eagles is an unknown, is this something where you demand Howie Roseman to do something significant? Maybe you restructure some of the contract and you figure it out, and then you can draft a tight end and let him work behind Goddard while you kick it for another season with Dallas? Or are you okay with the idea of moving on from Dallas Goedert and figuring out what to do instead of rocking with the tight end? I got to be honest with you, I'm okay if they move on. He's a phenomenal player. This isn't anything to do with he's not good, he doesn't have value, he doesn't bring it anymore. Even the injury stuff, I'm aware of the injury stuff. I think he's a good football player still, but you got to make decisions like this when you are looking to improve after a Super Bowl win. When you pay Saquon Barkley and you look at where you're at with the Zach Bond deal, and I want to go after another pass rusher knowing that Brandon Graham's most likely done. Josh Sweat's going to be taking a bag. Milton Williams is going to be leaving. I want to bolster up what we have at the defensive edge position more than anything else. And if the Goddard scenario can help that in any way, shape, or form, especially with the type of names that are out there, I would totally be okay with moving on from Goddard. And it's not because he's a stiff. It's not because he doesn't have anything left. It has nothing to do with that. It's just a business decision when I'm thinking about building this team and recalibrating a little bit. If that's an area where I have to pay the price a tick, there's just so much talent with this offensive line and Saquon and AJ and Devontae. And, you know, I think that you can still have such a tremendous elite run game. You can still have so many explosive plays generated that would be something I'd be willing to do is move off Goddard. If they don't, I'm okay with that as well. It's not as if it's a stupid decision if Howie elects to keep him and make sure that he's satisfied, but it also doesn't screw the Eagles with any cap ramifications. So I totally understand both sides. But if I'm asking the question, how does this make you feel? There's no doubt in my mind that if they are going to walk away from the Dallas Goedert relationship, I won't cry about it. I won't be devastated about it. I can understand it. Zach Ertz was the same exact age when they elected to, kind of push him out the door a little bit. And maybe that's the age range that they look at and study with the tight end position. All right, let's take a listen to our own Elliot Shore-Parks, and he sort of described his personal opinion on the Dallas Goedert-Philadelphia Eagles relationship.
The top thing on my mind right now with the Eagles is what's going to happen with Dallas Goedert. So Dallas Goedert, rightfully so, wants a new contract. I think that is safe to say. No player wants to go into the final year of his deal without a new contract. The Eagles just paid Saquon Barkley. They've paid A.J. Brown. They've paid Devontae. They've paid Jalen. They've paid pretty much everybody. And if you include Mekhi Becton, it will be literally everybody. So I think the Eagles, with Dallas Goedert being 30 years old, it's a strong tight end class. I wonder how committed they are to paying him a contract. So I think by free agency next week, you'll probably see some resolution by this. Now, could it drag past that? It could, because there are cap ramifications of trading him prior to June 1st. But I'm starting to believe Dallas Goedert has played his last game in a Philadelphia Eagles uniform, and that is sad. He's, it's like Ertz, Selleck, and him in terms of great tight ends that
Yeah,
they've had.
yeah.
He's a Super Bowl champion. I think he's a great teammate, great part of the locker room. But much like Slay, it feels like these two are headed towards a divorce. And for me, it's a matter of, at this point, like when that happens as opposed to if. It's not impossible. I would say maybe there's a 20% chance he's back. But I think this is heading towards a divorce, and I think it's something we could see happen really soon.
I agree. I definitely feel that is the way that it's trending, and I'm okay with it, especially if it is something where you look at the draft and you pick up a tight end in the draft, and you can just find ways to, I don't want to say hold the fort down, but it goes back to, I just have so much belief in what else is already on this roster that you can survive moving off of Dallas Goedert and then maybe utilizing that cap money and utilizing that money that is geared towards Goedert to help out some of those defensive holes, because there are a few on that defensive line that are going to hit free agency and they're going to leave, and you need some real bodies to help fill that void. So 215-592-9494. How does it make you feel thinking about an Eagles season if they move Dallas Goedert, if they don't have him in an Eagles uniform anymore? That's the main topic of today's show. Now, I'll give you my little sides here. The leftovers from last night. The Flyers had an incredible trade deadline. Danny Briere did what he needed to do. He got draft picks. He bolstered up this system with a lot of assets. And now it's time to be aggressive and take that next step forward as an organization. For about 2 hours last night, I was on from 6 to 10. From 6 to 8, we were rocking Flyers calls nonstop. If anybody didn't get a chance to weigh in and share their thoughts on the direction of the Flyers, it was a rough loss to Seattle. Sam Ersson looks horrible in the net. I don't think they have a goalie right now, and that's a problem. I thought maybe at one point Ersson could have maybe been something for this organization. I really have no clue, because when he's off, he is horrible. Now, when he's on, he's flashing the leather like no other, and he's making spectacular saves, but I just can't trust that guy at all. And yeah, the Flyers just had a dreadful one today, and the players are saying that they were sort of impacted by the loss of Scott Lawton and the trade and how much it hurt them. I don't need to go down this path again. He's a bottom six role player. I can't imagine that being so serious, but hey, what do I know? Best culture setter in the history of the NHL, apparently. If you do want to talk about where the Flyers are, 215-592-9494, because I'm a big fan of what Danny Briere has set us up with. When you look at the 2025 draft, you have so many first-round draft picks. You have so many second-round draft picks, 7 in the first 2 rounds. He can get creative. He can maybe move up. He can make a trade. He can sign some free agents potentially this offseason, and I'm really looking forward to it. So that's there as well. I'll give you my other side, but first, let's go to the phones. Let's go to Tron in Coatesville. What's going on, Tron?
Yo, what's going on, big dog? I tried to hit you up the other night when the Goddard stuff first kind of hit the air, because I was hearing Goddard. I think they said they wanted a first, but Goddard possibly a second, and something about Huff for the kid from Cincinnati. And you alluded to it earlier. Howie's pretty good with dealing tight ends. Like, he drafts them well. They maintain their skill set and their quality, and then when it's time to move on, he usually does pretty good in what he gets back for him. So I'm excited to see if that is in the air. And I'm like you, Dallas, you was the man. You did what you did. But, everybody moves on. It's cool. It's no biggie.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if you could get Trey Hendrickson, there is something about it. He's just 17 and a half sacks 2 years in a row. 2 years in a row.
Honestly, I think as much as, Philly fan base, we love our guys when they put in work, but I think we can replace what Milt and Josh Sweat does. This is a deep draft. I don't know if you had a chance to look at it. Interior line, linemen, rush ends deep, man. So I think this gives us a chance to see how much of it is scheme and how much of the skill set of the players that Fangio has to work with. Because if you can plug guys into the scheme and keep it going like it's been going, it's not looking good for the rest of the league.
And another thing to think about, Tron, is I don't want to downplay Milton Williams or Josh Sweat because they did their thing. But Jalen Carter's presence opens up a lot of room. So to your point, if you put players in there and Jalen Carter still, and if you go get a Trey Hendrickson, for example,
got it.
Woo, I mean, there's just
you're on the same page. You're on the same page.
I know.
And if you could just plug guys into the scheme, man, what? Oh man. But yeah, I'm just excited about this free agency all the way around. See what Howie's does. Like, I mean, being a Philly fan, I don't think any other fan base is more excited about free agency to see what their GM is going to do. Like, it's like a whole nother facet to the season. Like, everybody's excited about free agency, but when you got a guy that makes the moves that Howie make, it's like you're salivating. Like, oh, what's this guy going to do next?
Right. No, you're right. It's almost like another season, and thanks, Tron. I appreciate it. When it's Howie season, it's its own identity. There's literally a word for it. There's a hashtag for it on social media. So we go through the regular season, we go through the postseason, we win a Super Bowl, and then in the offseason, it's Howie season. It doesn't stop. It's 24/7 around here. One thing I'm interested to see with Howie, there's just so many names available, big names. So you got Washington let go Jonathan Allen. Is that correct? Or yes, Jonathan Allen. And then you also had, who else was it? Joey Bosa's name is out there, although that's not my favorite in the world. Trey Hendrickson, as I mentioned. Maybe you can go after Myles Garrett. There's even another name. Oh, Javon Hargrave is a name. And I'm not telling you these guys are young and in their prime. Trey Hendrickson's getting to 31, right? We're talking about that 30 number. These aren't 22-year-old young pups just entering the league with so much ahead of them. But right now, because of your window and because of where you are, there's definitely an opportunity to see what is on the market to help out in a lot of these areas. And if Jalen Carter is going to eat up that much space in the middle of that interior, then good luck. Good luck. And if you get one of these superstar names that consistently get 17 and a half sacks in 2 straight seasons, who do you focus on? I don't think you can even focus on Jalen Carter at that point. You have to focus on Trey Hendrickson. That's what you have to do. And then imagine what Jalen Carter does. He was doing sensational work even when getting double-teamed. So imagine what he does with so much more space and so many more opportunities. All right. So we got the Goedert stuff. We got the Flyer stuff. The third, just to make sure it's on the table for you, if you do want to get into just how you're feeling about the Phillies, that's the third topic, and it's sort of that secondary side topic stuff. But I want to make sure you guys know you have the opportunity to chime in and talk anything, really. 215-592-9494. Rob in Delco, you're on WIP. Yo, Rob.
Brodes, what's up, buddy? How you doing?
Good, man. What's going on?
Listen, I feel like as many times as I've told you, don't take it the wrong way. I feel like you're my therapist, Brodes. You know what I mean?
That is a scary thing to think about.
Could you imagine you giving me some? I mean, listen, I know you, but I don't know you. But I mean, you've been giving me life or death advice, Bros. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but see, the problem is I think of you guys as my therapy. So now my therapy is you, and your therapy is me, and then that's dangerous.
Who's helping who at that point?
Yeah,
right?
yeah, we're both just on a collision course of chaos.
We are. We're on a. Hey, listen, I'd rather be on the collision course of chaos than watch that slop of a basketball team. And you know what, bro? I'm throwing the hockey team. You know me with the hockey team. They're just as bad as the Sixers, okay? I don't want to hear. I'm sick of they got a plan. What's their plan?
Well, they got this is the Sam. They are where Sam Hinkie was when we had all the draft picks. So now it comes down to execution. They got to execute.
But here's the thing. Unlike hockey, football, or basketball, I'm sorry, not hockey, but unlike basketball, football, probably where like a pick can make an impact right away. Usually with hockey, you probably don't see him for a couple of years, right, bro? 2-3 years,
they
right?
got to develop and play some good old junior puck up in Canada.
So we suck now. now, okay, or we're mediocre now, and then we got to wait another 2 to 3 years just to find out if the guy can play. We don't even know if he can play. You know what I mean?
Why you ripping my sport? Why are you trying to rain on my parade?
Listen, you know why? 'Cause I'm a basketball guy. Listen, I got the prescription for you. All right? I'll sound the producer. This is what we do, okay? Our season for Philadelphia sports fans starts in September, okay? The Eagles start, obviously. Make a deep run. I know it's tough to win the Super Bowl every year, but, hey, listen. Make a deep run in the playoffs. We get, late in January, hopefully into February. Then what happens next, bros? The Combine. Then what happens after that? Spring training. Then what happens after that? The Phil season starts, and then the draft in football, right? Bang! Now we're into the summer, and the Phillies carry us. Just give us a couple months.
What about my Stanley Cup parade down Broad Street?
Listen, I'm 51 years old, okay? So what was the first year, bro? 73, 74?
Yes.
Is that the first one?
Yes, and they went back to back.
All right, so I was a year old, okay? And then they went
Did you have fun
back
at the parade?
And then I was 2. Yeah, I probably had fun, having my diaper changed watching the parade. You know what I mean? And probably what was in my diaper is how I feel about the team right now. You know what I mean? So,
all right, what do you got? What do you got on Goedert?
I think I like him. Listen, that play man against Green Bay in the playoffs where he stiff-armed that guy. You see the potential. You see the type of impact he can have. But what's the best ability? It's the availability, bro. And he just is not available for what he's making. And there's a lot of good young tight ends coming out. And we want to go heavy in some areas. How he's giving the money to some guys, you got to cut back in some areas. And I would be willing to let him go. I like him, but he's got his ring now. And I think it's time to move on, bro. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so,
and you know what's funny, Rob, and thank you so much. I feel that's the consensus. And I've only spoke to a couple people right now on the air, and we have all afternoon to do it. But just getting a vibe over the last couple of days, because this report from McLean has been dancing around there on social media, and it seems like there's a lot of people on the same page that maybe it is time. But knowing this town, knowing this city, when you win a championship, there's such a strong connection that I thought that there would be some more pushback that we need Goedert. And maybe some people feel that way. And I don't think it's crazy to think that he adds a tremendous amount of value to this group. I do think you are better with him than without him from a tight end standpoint, of course, but it's also, if you were to move on from Goedert, not so much tight end, but what else can you add around your roster with him gone? Is that where pass rush help comes? Is that where you're able to add one of these bigger names that's being flirted around, whether it's paying a Myles Garrett, if you can even utilize the proper compensation and assets to go after him, and Cleveland's willing to trade him, or whatever it is. However you get one of these bigger names that have an insane amount of sacks and they're around 30, 31 years old, ready to embrace a journey with a team that has a chance to win a Super Bowl, are you able to swing it because you lose Goedert? And if that's the case, that's a calculated risk I'm willing to take without a doubt. So I'm curious if there are some fans who do feel very passionate about keeping Goedert, and I would love to hear from you today. Let's go to Dave in Berlin. Yo, Dave.
Yo, how you doing, guys?
Good.
Well, first of all, I'm a Flyer season ticket holder. It's been painful this year.
Oh, were you at the game this afternoon?
No, I didn't go to this game. I was at the one the other night, and where they just skate like they have no legs.
Quicksand. Yep.
Oh, my God.
And they're goalies. Yeah. Dave, I'm going to be 89 years old, and I'm going to be saying, man, the Flyers need to get a goalie. It's unbelievable.
We've been saying that since Bernie left. Then we got Pelly Lindbergh.
Yep.
And then, that was a tragedy, and it just has never really happened for us.
No, you're absolutely right. That curse is real.
I don't know. Like I was telling your producer, the thing I'm looking forward to mostly is the promotional giveaway nights. See what I can get.
Did you get that Flyers hat, or is that not yet?
I don't know. I don't know if I got the sweatshirt, I think, the other night. But
it's so sad.
I know, man. It's like, come on, and as far as Dallas Goedert goes, he does definitely add to the team. I can understand where they're ready to let him go. It'll be sad to see him go because I like posting pictures of him saying Dallas is going to the Super Bowl. You know?
Yeah, that's a good way to phrase it.
Yeah, and I'm just going to miss it. He's a great player, but we do have to move on.
Okay, Dave, I appreciate your time and you taking the time to call in. Frank in Doylestown, you're on WIP. Hey, Frank.
Hey, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. You were talking to the Flyers the other day. I wanted to get in at this disgruntled Flyers fan. And
okay, hit me.
I think everybody's kind of got it wrong. I mean, it's sad that the orange and black is so far removed from everybody's mind how great of a franchise that really is.
Mm-hmm.
And I just believe, well, one thing is all the players that we didn't sign over the years, all the players we let go, Carter Goudreau, we had McCarr, we didn't take him. So many mistakes. We just don't have the proper. First of all, I like Jonesy, but he's not the right guy. Briere, definitely not the right guy.
Well, what are you basing that off of, that he's not the right guy? Because we don't know yet. He hasn't really been able to select guy. He got Mitchkov. I mean, that's a big deal.
Yeah, but you want to know something funny? Ryan Leonard will be a better player than Mitchkov.
I love Ryan Leonard. Well, we don't know. We don't know that. But you're not. You don't.
I know that.
You don't.
I like Mitchkov. I like Mitchkov.
So that means Ryan Leonard next year has to be a 30 goal scorer to be better than Mitch, or 25 goal scorer next year in his rookie year. And I like Ryan Leonard. I think the kid's a stud. But you have no knowledge on how he's going to. Cutter Gauthier was lighting up Hockey East at Boston College, and he's had a horrendous start to his NHL career in Anaheim.
Yeah, I think that was a bad move by the Flyers. And
what do you mean? What's the bad move? What's the bad move?
Drysdale, he's small, another small defenseman. I mean, he's nothing special.
Who?
You got to get something. How does the Washington Capitals get Jeff Trickren for
who's small? What's the small defenseman that you mentioned?
Draisaitl. Drysdale. Jamie Drysdale. He's small.
Listen. That wasn't Danny Briere didn't walk in and say, I got a perfect idea, guys. I'm going to trade Cutter Gauthier for Jamie Drysdale. That was something where the player dictated it and you had your hands tied behind your back. You're acting like Danny Briere chose that himself to do that. That's not what happened.
Well, you could have held on and got it back. I mean,
no, you couldn't have.
Get Jacob Chikrin. How does that happen? I don't understand that. And listen, I know one more point, and I know you got to go, but I believe, Drew, that the coach needs to go. The messenger's old. He plays around with too many of the young guys.
Hold on. I need to talk more about the front office with you. You can't say they're the wrong guys when they haven't had the opportunity yet to prove to you if they're the wrong guy or not. They haven't been able to do anything except for get rid of Chuck Fletcher's incompetence, and they're stuck with all the garbage from the previous regime. They stripped it down. They have 7 draft picks in the 2025 draft. They got you Mitchkov, so it's a pretty good start to what they had to do, and the execution next is a big part of it, but you're basing what this front office is off of really nothing yet.
Well, what did they just do with the trade deadline?
They traded Scott Lawton for a first-round draft pick.
Okay.
And then they flipped someone who's on a one-year contract for a third-round pick in Kuzmenko, who's a nobody, and got a third-round pick for him.
Okay, we'll see. We'll see there. I don't think so. I think another year next year. The Flyers and mediocrity.
Of course. What do you do? Do you think next year they're going to be good?
No,
of course not. So what's your expectation of this front office? It's going to take a bit because Chuck Fletcher sucked and Ron Hextall sucked and Homer sucked and everybody sucked prior to where we are now, that you can't just snap your fingers. This organization has been a dumpster fire and they stink so much that they have to dig themselves out of this crazy hole, and you're putting these expectations on these front office members that they have to do it now within one offseason?
And here's where I go with that, too. I don't know what the love affair is with Tortorella and Briere and Jones. I think Tortorella, believe me, I know you're not going to like it, I think he's a terrible coach.
Yeah, that's like actually statistically false. It's not even an opinion.
I think he blames his players all the time. The power play is atrocious.
That's not
The
his
penalty
job.
kill is
That's not
atrocious.
his job.
Whoa, he's the head coach.
That's
It
yeah,
is
but
his
there
job.
that's not his job. His job is not the power play. There's a power play coach, and yes, he sucks. And yes, the power. But if you're going to get mad that the players suck, you want these players in your eyes who suck to now just score at a 30% clip on the power play.
So you go back to Mitch Goff. I'll go back to that.
Yeah.
Your head coach. He's embarrassed that kid 3 times this year.
And he's responded every time.
Coach,
And he's responded every time.
Coach,
He's responded every time.
You know what? I don't think you treat players like that.
I agree with you, but you're just like
that,
insanely irrational on every view here. I agree with you. He doesn't do everything right, John Tortorella, but 90% of what he does clearly is effective in the NHL.
I like my coaches to be ex-players, and you know who they need to go get? And this team will turn around. His name's Kirk Muller.
Okay.
Power play specialist.
Oh, good.
Penalty play specialist.
Okay.
And he's a player that knows how to deal
Oh,
with
good
players.
for you. Good for the former player stuff.
Well, I'm still waiting for the Flyers to have a watch party one day, and it's going to be a thing of beauty with all the orange and black jerseys outside. But I don't know when I'm going to see it.
Okay. (215-592-9494). I'm asking Flyers fans how they feel about the general direction of this team. I don't know. When they openly admit we are rebuilding this thing and stripping it down and getting a lot of assets to build, and you know what we've been doing over the year, it hasn't worked. We got to strip this thing down to the bottom, and then we got to restart. And it's not even close to a finished product, but they stripped it down to the point where they have 7 draft picks in the first 2 rounds in the NHL. I mean, that was step 1. Now they have to execute. We got to see what they do. They have to execute, but they loaded up. They said this from day one. Hey, Flyers fans, this is what we're going to do. We're going to evaluate what was left over from the previous regime. We're going to sell off what we don't like, which they did, and Frost and Farabee and Scott Lawton was moved for a first-round pick, and they got guys out of here. They loaded up with draft assets. They have money that is available now that they didn't sign the Farabee, the Frost stuff. That helped out as well. So it's not close to finished, but I'm saying there is a blueprint here. There's a blueprint here. I'm mad, too. I'm pissed that we're here. But there's 2 different. You got to be able to look at it this way. I'm very angry that the Flyers have been irrelevant for years. That's disgusting. We deserve way better. That's one side of it. Then the other side is, where are we now to get this back on track? Angry? Yes. But who's in charge now? And the plan they've showed us, it's in progress. It's being followed. They haven't lied to us. This is what they said they do. They're doing it. All these teams you watch, Sidney Crosby, Malkin, they came from the draft. Go look at what's going on in Colorado. Where did these guys come from? They got drafted by Colorado. I don't know how you want this team to become good other than getting premier talent in your organization. You can't just make trades for Connor McDavid. You can't just make trades for Sidney Crosby and then have them for 10 years. The Capitals drafted Ovechkin. The Penguins drafted Malkin. The Penguins drafted Crosby. And this is just part of the process to get this back on track. Now, are they going to do it? We'll have to see if Danny Briere can do it. We have to see. But the only way to know is by getting these assets and then watching them try to execute the next part of the plan. That's all. They had a plan. They're in the process of the plan, and they're following through with the plan. Will the plan work? We'll find out if they can execute. But I don't know what other plan you would want other than strip it down, get assets, and try from the bottom. What else could you have done? Stay 500 your whole life and just stay how they were? Or do something different like this? I don't know what else other people want. Let's go to Tim in Ben Salem. Hey, Tim.
Here's what I want. I want a winning hockey team.
How do you get that?
All right? No, but I don't think you do.
How do you get that, Tim?
How do I get a winning hockey team?
Yes, based off of where Chuck Fletcher left us. How do you get there?
How long ago was Chuck Fletcher now? How long ago?
2 years ago. No, they had to strip it down, Tim.
Listen, what did Ron Hextall do?
He sucked. He sucked.
Okay, what did Sam Hinkie do?
He sucked.
Yeah, so how do we know Briere isn't?
We don't know. When did I say I know he's elite? I said he has a plan.
Narrow-mindedness.
Then what do you want to, Tim? What do you want to do? Tim, what do you want to do, Tim? Tell me what you want to do.
Hockey team.
Go ahead. How do you get it, Tim? Give me the plan, Tim. How do you get it?
The plan is to get better players.
And how do you do that, Tim?
Through trades.
That makes no sense. Who's trading good players to the Flyers? If they're good players, why are they trading them to the Flyers? If they're good.
Ask Dom Dabrowski.
I don't know who Dom Dabrowski is, Tim. I've never heard of Dom Dabrowski in my life.
Ask the Eagles how it gets done.
I don't know who Dom Dabrowski is.
All right, harp on it. I made a mistake.
No.
Harp on that. But you're saying there's one way to do it, and this is the only way to do it.
Based off of where you were, how are you? Who could you trade to go get this team who has stunk and doesn't have talent over the last 5 years? Tim, you want to take the bad talent and trade it to a team for good players? That doesn't make any sense.
I want a creative GM, that there's plenty of creative GMs.
And how do you know Danny isn't that? How do you know Danny isn't that? You haven't given him a chance.
Last year, we were a relatively good team last year. We went and freaking got rid of more players so that
that's the plan.
Start over again.
You wanted to keep last year's team intact. You're the problem, Tim. You're the reason why the Flyers suck. The hell is the matter with this Flyers fandom? I called for this. Shame on me. He wanted to keep last year's team together? That's embarrassing. That's why we're stuck. It's because you want to keep guys like Scott Lawton? Come on, man. So this team has been garbage, and Tim's plan was to trade the garbage players for the good players that would be shipped to Philadelphia. That makes no sense. Our team stinks. The way to get good is to make trades. How do you acquire that? How do you acquire that? With our bad players. As if those teams who drafted Cale Makar, who drafted all these guys in Colorado, they drafted them. The Penguins drafted them. The Capitals drafted them. That's how you get Ovechkin. That's how you get a John Carlson. That's how you get studs. You draft them. No one's giving up Ovechkin. No one's giving up Cale Makar. No one's giving up Sidney Crosby. Nobody's giving up any of these guys. Yet you think you could have taken slop and a bunch of bottom six forwards and traded them for phenomenal players in the league? I mean, I got to be honest with you, that's just stupid. It's stupid. Based off of where the Flyers were, I don't know what you could have possibly wanted them to do. This was their only path that made sense. If they stayed with who they were last year, you're not good. You're not good. So I don't know if Danny Briere is going to be good or not. I'm telling you, this plan isn't flawed. You just got to execute. The plan's not flawed. I don't know if I can handle this.